Hello, beautiful people. Welcome once again to another special edition of In and Out with Rubbertainer, a podcast where we go in, we go out, we talk about it all. It's been a minute. I miss you all. Yeah, I really do miss you all. I want to say a very big thank you to everyone that have been watching us so far, so good, for everyone that have been subscribed, those that are sharing, liking, and commenting on all our social media platforms, and of course on YouTube, Spotify. I want to say a very big thank you. Thank you so very much. And you know what time it is? They call me the Africa's #1 ring announcer, Rubbertainer. It's a beautiful day again, and I want to use this opportunity to ask, how have you been? I mean, it's been a minute, so genuinely from the depth of my heart, I'm asking, how have you been? I'm super sure you're doing great. I'm super sure that you're smashing those dreams. I'm super sure that you are executing those plans and dreams and aspirations that you have. And yeah, so in the process of trying to execute your plans, in the process of trying to achieve those your dreams and goals, that brings me to today's topic. And sometimes there are times where you must have achieved success in your own way. Success, they say, is relative. You may have achieved success in your own way in some things, in your career path, in your business, in your marriage, and then you get to a point where you begin to self-doubt yourself, most especially when results are not coming like they used to. And then you begin to feel less of yourself. You begin to feel as if you are not who you used to be, or you're not who people perceive you to be. And that brings us to today's topic, which is the imposter syndrome. Yes, it's a big deal. The imposter syndrome is the topic that we are talking about today. And this is something that is very, very sensitive. And at the same time, it's something that we really need to talk about because, of course, it's not a big problem. That is, if you don't make it a big problem. So let's just dive right into it. The imposter syndrome is more of a psychological pattern where sometimes you doubt your skills, you doubt your talent, or your accomplishment, and you get to have this persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. And even when you are actually competent and when you still have that skill set to actually get results, you still self-doubt yourself. The imposter syndrome is something that isolates you from the world, and this is not new to some people. And sometimes you might be passing through this psychological pattern, and you feel like you are not who you used to be, most especially when you have achieved some great landslides in your career, in your marriage, in your business, and then it's always very, very constant in the life of athletes, top businessmen, creative people. Yeah, it happens a lot in the lives of this set of human being, and that is because a whole lot of times when you set out a goal and you achieve the goal effortlessly with your skill set, with your knowledge, and then you set out another goal, you achieve it, and then people start to hail and praise you. The moment you end up not getting the result you used to get anymore, there are chances that this psychological pattern called imposter syndrome might be sneaking in. And of course, it's not a mental illness, but a common experience that can affect anyone, from students to CEOs to creative to athletes, like I rightly said, and even experts in varieties of fields. And how does imposter syndrome feels like? Some of the time when you feel like you don't deserve your achievements, it's okay not to stay humble. It's okay, but sometimes when you feel like, oh, this is my achievement, I don't think I deserve them, there are chances that you are having this psychological pattern called the imposter syndrome. You see, times where you think your success is just luck, when you associate your success story to luck, often there are chances that you are not affixing yourself in the reality that you actually possess a skill set that could generate that result, that achievement for you. So some of the time when you start thinking like what you've achieved is because you are just lucky, or because someone helped you, or because you don't own the ability to achieve those stuff, when you start having those mindset, chances are this bad boy is dealing with you, the imposter syndrome. And when you fear that people will find out that you are not really who they think you are, it's something that makes you question your personality. It's something that makes you question your identity. And when you begin to question your identity, chances are you've lost yourself already. So there are 1001 chances that you may not tend to achieve anything when you have already forgotten who you are. And how imposter syndrome also feel is like it makes you, when you begin to compare yourself to others, like most especially in this era where social media is the in thing, where people spend what is called clout to currency, where people chase clouds for nothing. People flaunt success stories without back end information on how it happens, where people just create lies just to trend, and if proper care is not taken, when you are having this imposter syndrome, chances are you swallow it. When you see people just posting stuff on social media, you begin to compare yourself, begin to compare your success story to them. That bad boy is about creeping in on you. It's called the imposter syndrome. And I jot down some stuff here. Of course, everything will always have a name. Everything on earth has a name. So there are different types of imposter syndrome. The psychologists like Dr. Valerie Young identified 5 main types of imposter syndrome. So he spoke about the perfectionist. Now, there is a thin line between being a perfectionist and also being a perfectionist. So if you are a perfectionist, you feel that you must do everything perfectly, otherwise you are a fraud. If you have that kind of feeling, you are like, oh, I have to do this thing, it must be 100% perfect. If I don't do it, then I'm a failure, I'm fraud. Chances are you are facing the perfectionist aspect of the imposter syndrome. And then the expert, you feel like you don't know enough even after learning a whole lot. You can actually learn how to swim, you can learn how to play basketball, you can learn how to run a business successfully, and even after learning a whole lot, you still feel like you don't know enough. That is an imposter syndrome creeping in on you. There are the natural genius who always believe they should always succeed easily, and they struggle easily. Struggle means they are not good enough. There are some set of human that are natural genius, like the Lionel Messi, a natural genius footballer. There are people who believe that they should always succeed easily. And one funny thing about the journey of life is that you can't just succeed easily. You can in the Christian faith, you can in the Muslim faith, but in all honesty and in reality, chances are you may not just succeed easily. Let me give you an example. If we are meant to succeed easily, just look at those people you attended high school with. You all graduated the same time in high school. Why can't you all have the same successful result in high school? Let's say you graduate, why can't you all get jobs the same time? Why can't you all start living your dreams the same time? Why can't you all get married the same time? Why can't you all have kids the same time? Why can't you all start traveling all around the world the same time? And the craziest part of it all, why can't you all die at the same time? No matter how it is, everyone's time is different, So I don't know who painted that image in the minds of humans that there is a time factor to your success. We all don't have the same time. Actually, we all don't have the same time. Your timing could be early, mine could be late, yours could be later, depending on when your time comes. So we also have the soloist, those that feel like asking for help proves that they are incompetent. We have people like that when they are drowning, maybe in the aspect of knowledge, in the aspect of finances, they feel like asking people for help makes them incompetent, like it makes them a failure. No, there's an adage I'm trying to remember right now that say a tree does not make a forest, man. If you feel like when you ask for help you are incompetent, then you have the ideology of the human race all wrong. Because if we all want to, if the creator wants us to survive alone, he will have just created just one person, and that person roam about the whole earth, dies, another person come in like game. Okay, it's my turn. You come in, you roam around, you die, another person comes in. If that was how the earth was created, then you don't really need help. But for the fact that there are people around, I understand that you feel incompetent, but the reality is asking for help and begging are two different things. When you're asking for help, it means that you have tried everything humanly possible. People can actually see that you've put in enough effort and the result is not coming forth. And when you're asking for help, it actually also do mean that you have value in exchange for what you're asking for. And the value may not necessarily be monetary, but when you are begging is when you don't even have value to exchange for it. When you just feel I need to have that thing from you. When you have that, begging can also be associated to like an entitlement kind of stuff. When you don't have anything to exchange for what you're asking of, and perhaps maybe you are not even in the right mental space to even it's like, let's say a child of 5-year-old is asking you to give him or her a car that he or she wants to drive. A 5-year-old child shouldn't be seen driving on the expressway on 140 kilometers per hour. So if that child is begging to drive, that child doesn't have the capacity to actually do that. So when you're begging, it's like you don't have capacity to even handle that which is going to be given unto you. So when you ask for help, it doesn't prove that you are incompetent. And those that also feel like the superhero, they push themselves to work harder than everyone else to prove their worth. There are people like that keep pushing themselves to the tip till they fall down from the cliff. They just want to prove a point, and it's not always like that. I can give you some physical examples. Take for instance, I love the combat sport so much. So I'm going to pick an example from the recent winnings of the former UFC fighter Tony Ferguson. He's a veteran fighter, and Tony Ferguson is one of those fighters that when you want to mention the UFCs, you have to mention Tony Ferguson in mixed martial arts world globally. And years back, he was one of those names that sell out arena. He was one of those names that once he's on the poster that is fighting, UFC is going to smile to the bank because fans want to see him fight. He wins a whole lot of fight back then, and all of a sudden he fell off the cliff. In 6 years he kept on losing back to back, and this is somebody that wins his fight in great fashion, in classical finishes and all of that, and all of a sudden fell off the cliff. 6 straight years he kept on losing for 6 years. You can imagine every fight you take for 6 years, 365 days times 6. That's the number of days this guy has been losing. Now, you must agree with me that if you are in his shoes, there are chances that you must have self-doubted yourself. There are chances that you might even have told yourself that the successes that you've had in the past are actually fluke. You must have told yourself, I just try to imagine what Tony Ferguson must have told himself in the last 6 years, losing back to back. But guess what? This guy kept on showing up. He kept on showing up to every fight. He kept on showing up to every battle. He didn't isolate himself. So until recently. He won. He left the UFC and is back into boxing, and he won his fight recently. You need to see the emotions. He wanted to celebrate. He just didn't know how to celebrate anymore because he was too used to failure in combat sports that he did not even know how to celebrate. He was, he was filled with different mixed emotions, jubilating like a baby, shedding tears, because imagine you have been having success stories so far, back-to-back success. You are like the spotlight is on you, and suddenly the light goes off. Chances are you self-doubt yourself. Chances are you will even talk down on yourself. But Tony Ferguson is one of those that don't die easy. The guy came back strong, and I am indeed very happy for Tony Ferguson. So moving forward, let me talk about why does imposter syndrome happen. First and foremost, high expectations. When there is too much of expectation from you or from the society, from your family, from even yourself, it can actually lead into imposter syndrome. Now, one funny thing about we Africans is that we already have a tabulated way that I don't know whoever did that arithmetic, that this is how you should live your life in Africa. I don't know whoever did that stuff really did us some bad stuff. At some point it's good, but in all honesty, everybody's timing can never be the same. You set expectations for the boy child, you set expectations for the girl child. You try to dictate how they see life, you try to dictate how they behave, you try to dictate how they react, you try to dictate their success, what they call success, forgetting that success is relative. For some people, success is them having food to eat. For some people, success is them having shelter. To some people, success is them traveling all around the world. To some people, success is having 500 children. To some people, success is having billions in their account. So when whoever sets, we're wearing hair, we just met ourselves here, and then we met rules and regulation, way of life, and then whoever set it that once you finish from your secondary school, your high school, university, you need to get married. As a guy, you must get married, you must start having children, you must start catering for a wife and children, you must be responsible for your parents, responsible for your siblings, responsible for, it's just a whole lot of things that need to be updated. When too much when expectations are high, there are chances that when you are now meeting that high expectation, you can start feeling less of yourself. That imposter syndrome can come in. When you compare yourself to others, especially in this era where people spend cloud to currency, social media era, I will keep saying it, social media is a blessing and it's also a curse. Yeah, it has its good side, it also has its bad side. One of the good side of social media is the fact that this video I'm dropping right now can just see we can get 50 views, and then in the next couple of months we can it can gain up to like 10 million views, and then we'll make money from YouTube. And that is a positive aspect of social media. But the negative aspect is that people don't longer show results. We come from a generation where we know that for you to see the tip of an island, there are so many things that have gone down in the ocean before you see that land that you're standing on. That land is not just floating on the ocean. There are so many things. Now, you don't just see a tree that doesn't have a root. It has a root. It starts growing from the ground before coming up, So social media time where people just flaunt lies and cloud to currency. Yeah, that's my new English. Yeah, Oxford need to put it in their dictionary. And then why does imposter syndrome happen again? When you are entering a new space where you are the only one, the first generation professional, minority in a field. Why does imposter syndrome also happen? When you grow up in an environment where success was never enough, it's something. When you grow up in an area where people want more than success from you, you have to watch out for it. And let's quickly delve straight up into how to overcome it. Hello, beautiful people. If you have been enjoying the podcast so far, so good, kindly help us like, comment, share, and also stay subscribed. Thank you. Welcome back. So let's talk about how to overcome imposter syndrome. First, there is need for you to acknowledge it. There is need for you to realize that, yes, I think I'm suffering from imposter syndrome. You need to realize that many successful people experience it too. You are not alone. A whole lot of successful people have experienced this thing. So you need to own up to it and acknowledge it, that, okay, I think this is what is wrong with me. If some of the things that I've mentioned above, characteristics of imposter syndrome, if you find yourself having that, this is the first thing you need to do. Acknowledge it. Then you need to reframe failure. You see, mistakes does not mean fraud. Mistakes does not mean failure. They are all part of growth. It's all a growth process. When you fail, doesn't mean you're not growing. There's a popular basketballer that was asked at the press conference about why their team over the years have not been able to win, I think the NBA championship or something. And the reporter that was asking kept on asking repeatedly, and I loved his response. And his response was, for the fact that we didn't get the championship this season, does it mean we failed? It simply means that we are only learning how not to fail. We are learning how to get better. We are learning how to get better and how to get closer to the championship, for the fact that, then he asked that reporter this question, for the fact that, were you promoted at your workplace this year? The reporter said, so does that make you a failure? So sometimes we need to reframe failure, what failure looks like. I'll give you another fantastic example. In Nigeria today, where on social media people bully people anyhow. We have the big three. They call them the big three: Davido, Burna Boy, and Wizkid. Like, these are the big three in the entertainment space. And flipping it back many years ago, when Banky W showcased Wizkid and Skills on stage, calling them his retirement plan, that these are two fantastic artists that are my retirement plans. Skills was dropping bangers back then. Wizkid was also dropping bangers, and one way or the other, like I rightly said earlier, that timing is different. Wizkid went global, and then the fans started attacking Skills. Fans started talking down on Skills. They started saying all sort of things. They called him unpretable names, And one funny thing and beautiful thing about Skills is the fact that the guy is built different. He's from a generation where we don't take no for an answer. He kept doing it. He kept on doing it. At some point, if he even talks online, they bully him. These so-called fans, they bully him and talk down on him. One way or the other, the song that Skills had recorded 11 years ago finds its way into the dressing room of Barcelona, and Yami Lawal started dancing to the song. And this song, he had produced this song 11 years ago. The song came back to limelight, and before we knew what was happening, Skills that people had forgotten is everywhere, already everywhere again. And then he started recording different versions of that song. Bear in mind that he had done hundreds of songs after he dropped Shake Body 11 years ago. He had dropped over hundreds of songs, albums. And guess what? That song brought Skills back in a big way. And recently, Yami Lawal and Adidas collaborated on an out on I think it's a sneaker or something, and that song was the song they used to premiere and launch that product. You see, that is one thing I say. We all have different time frame, and for the fact that someone's time frame comes before yours doesn't mean you are a failure. It simply means that you are a work in progress. WIP, baby. So first thing you need to do to overcome imposter syndrome, you need to acknowledge it. Then you need to reframe failure in your mind. For the fact that you made a mistake doesn't make you a fraud, and then you have to consciously track your wins. Little wins, track them. When you win, track it, write it down, pen it down. Keep a brag sheet. Have somewhere where you write down or pen down those your wins. If one of your win, if you're somebody that, let's say you are on the big size, you want to calm down on your size, even if you lose 1 kg after so much effort and exercise, pen it down and celebrate it, because it is work in progress. You have to keep a brag sheet of achievement and feedback to remind yourself of your value. Someone like me, my Facebook page is always the page where I go to anytime I want to remember how far I have come. Because my Facebook on my Facebook I have all my old pictures of how I started, and I'm not one of those that always love to clean up my past, how I started. No, let it be there so that people can actually see the growth. People can see the growth. They can notice when I nosedived again. They can notice when I'm growing again. So I don't want to be like those that spend cryptocurrency on social media, making you feel like the day you start, the second day you start making money, and then the third day you are global. No, I want people to see my growth process. That is why my Facebook is always where I keep track record of my little wins and also talk about it. Another way to overcome the imposter syndrome is when you talk about it, like share with mentors, share with your peers, your friend. You will always feel comfortable sharing stuff like that with your mentor, with your friends, close allies. Share with them how you feel about the things that you've achieved in the past and how you're feeling, and obviously they can be a very good, strong support system for you. I also wrote there that detach your self-worth from performance. You are more than what you produce. You are more than what you produce. Detach your self-worth from your performance. Your performance does not equate to your self-worth. Detach that mentally, and then shift your focus. Instead of, do I belong here? Ask, how can I contribute here? Do I belong here is not the right question to ask. Rather ask, how can I contribute in this business? How can I contribute in this sporting industry? How can I contribute in this organization? How can I contribute in this group of friends? How can I contribute in this gym? Not, do I belong to this gym? Let me put it up here. The imposter syndrome is a lie your mind tells you. It's actually a mirage. It does not exist. Your mind plays pranks on you. The moment you begin to have that imposter syndrome, chances are you may want to self-isolate yourself. And the moment you self-isolate yourself, you will forget who you are. You will lose your identity. You will lose your dreams and vision. And then you begin to chase another person's dreams and vision. So whoever you are out there watching this, if you are having that imposter syndrome, just make sure that you surround yourself with the right support system. Acknowledge it. Reframe failure in your mind. Track all your wins. Detach your self-worth from your performance. Shift your focus. And ultimately, tell it to God. That will be all. I hope you enjoy your time on In and Out with rubbertainer. Remember that you can always call us. You can always message us on rubbertainer@gmail.com, and you can also like, comment, share, subscribe. And don't forget that In and Out with rubbertainer is a podcast where we go in, we go out, we talk about it all, and we drop fresh episode every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Until I come your way again, I remain the Africa's number one ring announcer, rubbertainer. Signing out.